Today, I tried speedrunning Hollow Knight, except I start with every skill, which includes abilities that I normally have to acquire during the run, like Mothwing Cloak and Mantis Claw. In addition, I'll be racing against the current world record time to really put my skills up to the test. However, to make it fair, I'll be banned from using Stag Stations and Dream Gates, both of the fast travels, otherwise it wouldn't really be a competition. For context, the current world record time is 30 minutes and 49 seconds load time removed, but since I'm not going to be pausing during my run, I'll be racing against the real-time attack at 37 minutes and 42 seconds. Now, before I start, I'm using the debug mod to acquire all the skills, so if you want to check the validity of my run, the uncut version will be in the description below. Alright, we're in, but we're not going to start the timer just yet because I need to get my stuff. So we're just gonna press all skills, and now we have everything except Cyclone Slash, and I'll explain that later. So in 3, 2, 1, here we go. Alright, post-game possible here, and we start off a little differently compared to a normal run. We'll immediately capitalize on our maxed skills and use our wall jumps and double jumps to climb up into the Howling Cliffs. Once we're up, we'll dash through this tunnel, break this wall, and expertly bash my head on the ceiling a couple times. Starting off strong. Now at the top, we crystal dash away, and doing all this basically allows us to bypass having to break through the giant door and watching the cutscene we'd normally have to do. Now, I want to note that the path I'm taking took me 1 day to figure out and practice before this current run. And I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this because I only had 2 days before going on vacation, so it's probably not the most time optimized route, but this is what I came up with. With that said, in the Forgotten Crossroads, I'll gather some souls so I can use my Descending Dark spell to quickly get to the bottom of this room. Then over here, we'll ignore Conifer and head to the right. Now comes the mini arena, where we'll quickly kill this first fly. Then I want to position myself about here to use the Howling Wraiths to kill the next 2 flies. And of course, I barely missed one of them. I think I maybe did it a little too early. I know we can use the stalactite strat, but I've basically never hit that, so I might as well try something new. Normally, we'd have to walk across these rooms, but the crystal dash makes traveling quite trivial, which is nice since I'll need every second if I want to beat the world record. Here, we'll head up, then double jump, wall jump to continue up, but instead of going to the False Knight, instead we'll make a slight detour up to this lever and hit it for later. Once we do that, we'll finally make our way to the False Knight. Once again, crystal dashing and making sure to ignore that big guy. Here, I'll get my soul to full in preparation for the False Knight fight. We simply make our way up and across, and down he drops. Honestly, this fight is a joke. All we'll do is use the Descending Dark spell twice to stagger him. Once his face pops out, slash him to refill our soul, and repeat. This can't even really be classified as a fight, really. It's more like bullying. In a normal speedrun, after his first stagger, we'd leave by breaking the gate and head towards the Ancestral Mound for the Vengeful Spirit spell. But since we're already maxed, we don't have to do that. Instead, we have to kill him for an item he drops. Now that we staggered and slashed him for the 3rd time, I'll take my time to heal at the side while he smashes the floor a couple times. Then he'll jump, fall through the ground, and we'll follow him down to finish him off. Slash 8 times, and he finally dies. Bullying session over. We'll pick up the city crest, which will allow us to get into the City of Tears. And once the gate opens, we'll grab the money in this chest for later. After we collect everything, we'll head to the left, ignore the Ancestral Mound up top, and hit this lever to make it out. Now to the Fungal Wastes. Whippy. That's right, past me, we're heading down to the Fungal Wastes. To get there, we take a left here and make it up top so we can circle around and drop down directly into Fungal Wonderland. All we're doing here is dropping all the way down this room, dodging any platforms and enemies in our way. Normally, we'd have to be extra vigilant because of the acid pools, but since we have Ismast here, we have acid immunity. Not that it really matters since I already know the path. Crystal dashing continues to save us time, and I totally meant to take a hit there to animation cancel. Yep, another crystal dash across this entire room, and then here we simply bounce across these mushrooms. Now that we're finally down, we're gonna head to the right and into the City of Tears. And this is really cool. Normally we'd have to do the parkour above us to access the entrance, but we can just skip the entire section. Then on this statue, we insert the city crest, and the gate opens for us, and then ominously closes right behind us. Now that we're in the city, our objective is the first Dreamer Seal up in the Watcher's Spire. And to get there, we have to head down while dodging all the infected enemies and guards. All we're doing for now is going down the elevators to reach the ground floor. We briefly see Quirrell, but ignore him to keep rushing downwards. I know it's a sin to do, but it's all for the sake of the speedrun, so forgive me. On this next elevator, I time my crystal dash so I can get across the entire room without hitting any platforms in the way, and then another crystal dash towards the city center. And now we talk to Hornet. And by talk, I mean we skip all the dialogue and ignore her. After that, we'll double jump towards this upper entrance, then drop down and fireball to open this door for later. And now we head towards the first seal. And to do that, we just have to head up this elevator. Now for the Watcher Knights. This should be pretty simple, so long as I don't mess. Oh my god, what the hell am I doing? In this room, since we're on a later patch of the game, we have to make it up and towards the center since we can't do the lever skip. It's not really that big of a deal since I have all my spells. Descending Dark will carry as always. I'll make sure I have full soul, then drop down. With the sentries defeated and the lever flipped, we can climb up towards the Watcher's Spire. We'll ignore all these enemies, use my Shade Cloak to face through this guy, and enter up here. We jump here, then enter this elevator to continue up. Then this final elevator brings us all the way up to the Watcher Knight's boss fight. But before we can enter, we'll break this ceiling here and enter the secret room to slice this rope, which kills one of the enemies, making the fight a little shorter. Now, I remember this fight being quite tense when I speedrun Hollow Knight for my previous videos, as we'd have to manage our soul and health while keeping the knights at bay. But, well, just look at this. Man, Descending Dark makes this fight so trivial. Not gonna lie, using the Descending Dark to splash both knights at once is really satisfying. But even with my skills at max, I still make some questionable mistakes. Let's just pretend I'm doing this for added stakes or something. Yeah, but thankfully I clutch up and save the run. Okay, I don't know why I struggled so much more than I should have, but it's probably because I'm not a Hollow Knight pro. Just doing challenges for the fun of it. Yeah, I'll keep telling myself that. Anyhow, we can now take this long elevator up to Lurien to break the first seal. And boy, is it a long way up. But before entering the dream, I'll grab some soul from this guy. Now, in the dream, we'll head over to Lurien, smack him up a couple times, then absorb the essence to undo the first seal. 11 minutes, and we've just got the first dreamer. Yeah, this is taking a little bit longer than I thought it would. I was hoping for a sub 10 Lurien, but it is what it is, I guess. After we wake up, we'll head down, then use the soul I collected quickly to de-dark down the entire elevator shaft. Now, we're not quite done here in the City of Tears. First thing we need to do is head over here to collect this seal and collect the money from the chest. Then we'll start to backtrack. I'll quickly dash past all these corpses. Wonder how that happened. And back in this room, we'll head down the elevator, time a crystal dash, then exit through the left. Another crystal dash through this hallway, and we'll hit this lever to open this door. What we're doing right now is making our way to Lem, the Relic Seeker, to sell the Hallownest seal we just picked up. We head down all the way to this room, and we'll read his note, which says he's by the fountains where we met with Hornets. So we elevator and crystal dash right towards him. We'll talk with him briefly, and by talk, I mean skip all the dialogue and head back to the shop. Once we're up, we'll sell the seal for 450 geo. Now we're doing this because we need 1800 geo for later to buy the Lumafly lantern from Sly. The lantern is important because without it, Deepnest becomes basically impossible to navigate, and we're heading there later. Now we're still about 350 geo short, so I'll kill some of these guys and collect their money. Once we exit, I'll actually scale this wall up towards this balcony here, then C-dash towards this room. There's a bunch of guys here that I'll kill, but what I really need is in the back. This golden boy drops a ton of money once he dies, so I'll smack him into the corner, then D-Dark repeatedly until he dies. Look at all that beautiful cash, 1900 geo. More than enough to afford the lantern. With that, we're finally ready to leave the city. Exiting to the right, we head upwards from the King's Station. Fireball these guys, shade dash through the sentry, elevator up, another fireball, and we're out. Using this major elevator brings us right under the resting grounds. We'll C-dash here to avoid the sentry, and the path upwards is the resting grounds where we'd normally get the Dream Nail. But we're going to use a shortcut through the Blue Lake back into the now infected crossroads. Once we drop down, we'll ignore Salubra's shop and head inwards to meet with Sly. We have to dodge all these infected enemies, and I just barely duck into the house right before getting touched. Sly really should thank us for our unparalleled devotion to rescue him. Once we wake him up, he'll now appear in a shop back in Dirtmouth, where we're gonna head to next. When we exit out, I'll grab more salt, then break this floor here so I can start heading upwards. Man, looking at the time, it's starting to get close. I mean, we're heading back up to Dirtmouth with one seal, while the world record holder is now going to the Golden Husk and is about to reach the Watcher's Spire. I really need to keep this lead if I'm going to win. I'll make sure I'm at full health since up ahead is quite dangerous. Here, I'm going to fill my soul to full because of the next few rooms. Over here, I'll use my Howling Wraiths to erase these infected bench flies out of existence for the peace peace of my mind. Man, I hate those guys. Then I'll exit using the gate that I opened before to continue. One more wraith and we're almost out. We just have to avoid the enemies in this room, then crystal dash through a bunch of orange blobs. In this final room here, we'll make our way up to this chain, and we're finally out. Now onto Sly's shop. Now the reason I didn't take Cyclone Slash at the start is because if you visit Sly with all 3 nail arts, he descends into his basement to give us a charm, and not a good one at that. It's basically just a waste of time. With the lantern now in tow, we can start making it to the next Dreamer. We're basically going to make the same loop we made at the start. Grab enough soul for a spell, then D-Dark all the way down. Once we drop into this room, this time we'll crystal dash to the left, and we have to make sure to dash cancel at the right moment to not get hit by that rockworm while avoiding the Vengefly. Here in this room, normally we'd have to time a crystal dash above the acid to make it across, but instead we'll take full advantage of Isma's Tear and swim through the acid, and I'll grab more soul on my way down. Now that we're in Fog Canyon, there are a ton of these floating jellies that we have to dodge, and we have to make sure not to hurt the big ones especially, otherwise they'll shoot an explosive that does massive damage. Thankfully though, I made it through pretty unscathed. Right now we're heading towards the Teacher's Archives, which holds the second seal and another boss fight that we have to get through, both of which are in this next room. All we have to do is go through this door, and we've reached the Teacher's Archives. You know, normally this whole area is so much more intimidating due to the acid, so it's a nice change of pace to not have to watch every step I take. And of course saying that, I bash straight into a jelly. Nice. Alright, here we go. We'll drop into this room, which will start the Umu boss fight. Umu is quite the unusual boss due to the fact that we can't hurt her until Quirrell swoops in, so in the meantime, we just have to dodge all the electricity attacks. In between her electricity barrages, I'll lure her towards the middle so I can chain my attacks. She does 3 attacks per cycle before we can actually start to do damage to her, and I especially like this attack since it takes less time than the other one. Okay, now Quirrell should do his thing. Quirrell, do your thing. Now that Quirrell did his thing, we can unleash Pound Town. Howling Wraiths is perfect for this fight as we can get multiple hits per attack, absolutely melting her health. And then we just rinse and repeat. That's basically the entire fight. Wait for attacks, lure her to the middle, and then blast her. If I was better at the game, I'd time some Dream Nails to get soul while she moves, but alas, I'm not that hero. I'm merely a Hollow Knight squire who can only dream of achieving such skills. Okay, this is a little risky. I don't have enough soul for another blast, so I have to hit her a couple times. But thankfully, since I have double jump, I barely managed to get the Howling Wraith in time. Just like that, we hit the 20-minute mark and Umu should be near dead. Just one more cycle left to go if I play it right. We need some more soul, so I'll hit her 3 times and unleash another Howling Wraiths, and that's game! Booyah! Got her in only 4 cycles. Umu usually takes much longer, but that was actually pretty good. I mean, to be fair, I do have some of the best spells in the game, so that's to be expected, I guess. With that, we'll talk to Quirrell, who will undo the barrier so we can get the second seal. We do the same thing we did for Lurien, enter the dream, absorb the essence, and the second seal is broken. Okay, that's 2 of 3. Now the final seal is where all the scary things live. Yup, the last stop on the seal train is Deep Nest, home to everyone's favorite Silk Song. First thing we have to do is exit the archives the same way we came in. Once we're out, we then head to the left, breaking this wall to access the other side. Then we'll head further down, dodging more jellies, with varying degrees of success. I'll heal just to be safe. You know, as a famous speedrunner once said, a slow run completed is faster than a rushed one wasted. Ah, wise words. I totally didn't come up with that right now. Nope. Anyways, we're back in the fungal wastes as there's a secret entrance to Deep Nest through here. To get there is quite simple. I'll shade dash through this mushroom, then drop down to scale this wall. Then drop down this hole over here and we're almost there. All that's left is to do some simple parkour pogoing on these floating dudes up to this top path, and then C-dashing across through this next room to this wall and fireballing it down. Then we make it across to this ledge where we run back and fall down this hole, and voila! Deep Nest. This place is a little bit of a maze, and honestly, I don't really know how to narrate this part. You just gotta know where to go, and that just comes with practice. Thankfully, I still have most of it memorized from my time speedrunning it before, so it isn't that much of a struggle. We drop down this hole, take a left here, make sure not to fall in that hole, and I guess follow these Garapedes, the giant tunneling bugs. The first time I ran through these tunnels, I remember being very confused and even more lost. Definitely not a very fun experience. Once we make it here, we wall jump a few times, then D-Dark down this tunnel to the spring which refills our soul and health. Once we're full, we can continue deeper. The Shade Cloak really comes in handy in these dark, cramped tunnels as we can phase through enemies without a second thought. And here comes my not so proudest moment. Brother. Oh my god, I'm choking. What is wrong with me? Oh my god. Holy crap, bro. Can't believe this. My only real excuse is that I don't really do well under pressure, and I have a really good run here, which makes my brain kinda wonky. Begs the question why I'm even speedrunning in the first place. Well, my other speedrun video did good, and I like views, so here we are, I guess. Thankfully, we're almost to the beast den where the final dreamer lays, so not much left to go. When you think you have a good run, I always come to mess it up. You do not want to know how my other attempts went. Anyways, we're just going to continue to the left and up, avoiding any enemies in our way, and making sure to watch out for spiked floors. Up next, this room is a piece of cake thanks to our double jumps. Normally, I'd get hit at least once in this section, the main culprit being that wall crawler, but not this time. Avoid these last spikes, dash through this hallway, and we arrive at the distant village. Now we want to make some simple platforming. We especially want to make sure not to fall. We want to make it up, up, up. Oh my god, why do I even try? Editing me, cut that out, please. Entering this building, we'll dash to this bench and sit to patiently await whatever this is supposed to mean. Maybe that's what bugs do for fun in their free time. I don't know. Now here, we'll do a neat skip that I came up with myself. I call it the down dash through slash. And to do it, we'll need to farm some soul down here. And once we're full, we'll head to this big guy to do a D-Dark, then shade dash through. We do that sequence because the D-Dark gets us enough invincibility frames to walk up right to his face. And then the shade cloak gets us through the rest of him without taking damage. I'm kind of proud of myself for that one, honestly. Proves I'm not totally washed up. I've got a few more years in this little brain of mine. We continue up while dodging these wall crawlers to the best of our ability. And honestly, it's a struggle. They always place themselves in the worst position to knock some health off of me, and it's so annoying. But I do get a revenge on one of them. Now we're almost to the last dreamer. Once this floor breaks, I'll free this grub, because why not? Get hit again. And again, heal for safety, before finally doing one more down dash through slash trademark and last dreamer. And look at this, while we finally get the last dreamer, the world record is just getting their second, so the lead still stands. But this is where they can catch up, because while they make their way to and through Deep Nest, I have to backtrack through Deep Nest, Fungal Waste, Fog Canyon, and up the rest of Infected Crossroads, all on foot, while they can simply stag their way back to Dirtmouth at an instant. In addition, I've practiced this part of the run only once, so I'm basically winging it at this point. If you think I can make it, hit like, and if not, subscribe, because the race is on. Making our way out of the Beast Den is pretty simple, as is the first part of Deep Nest. We just go back the same way we came. Yeah, let's not bash our head on the spikes 3 times. It's a good idea not to do that. But once I reach this part, you can start to tell I got kind of lost. I accidentally dropped down here, but remember, we fell down that long tunnel into the springs and can't climb back up, so we have to take the long way up. Yeah, my movements are quite telling that I'm not confident at all in where I'm heading, but after a little bit of stumbling, I eventually find this top exit. But I'm still not in the clear as I take a wrong left here, then smack my head on this dude. Thankfully, this is the last room I'm not confident in traversing, as the next one is where my mental map starts to kick in again. We run left, then follow this bench sign up, and ignore this one, breaking this floor, which finally brings us back to this noisy Garapede room, and I know where I'm going now. That was kind of stressful. I really need to hurry up, otherwise this lead isn't going to last much longer. We're now here, right back where we fell down into Deep Nest in the first place. We'll make sure to use our wall jumps and double jumps to scale up this wall. That is the wrong left. Up one more floor, and we make the winding path up, which will lead back up into the Fungal Waste. Oh, finally the scary part is over. Yup, it is so good to be back and actually know where I'm going. Let's check up on the world record. Oh, they're entering Beasts Den. I gotta go fast. This is looking like it's going to be real close. And stunts like this is making it even closer. Okay. Can I jump back? Brother, why is the acid so sticky, bro? Holy crap. I don't know if I'm an idiot for sabotaging myself or a genius for raising the suspense. Regardless, we parkour up and out of Fog Canyon into the Infected Crossroads right as they break the final Dreamer seal. The race is really heating up now. Any and every mistake takes away valuable seconds that hold up my fragile lead, so my focus has to be on point. Can I? Oh my goodness. The final stretch is here. We just have one last room to go until we reach the temple. So I fill my soul as best as I can and C-dash the rest of the way. In we go. Okie doke. Here we go. Final boss time. The final stretch. Grab this bench because I'm a pussy. We're finally here. We just have to break each of the 4 chains and the fight will start. Right as the world record run is reaching their own Black Egg Temple. This is the battle for the ages. Okay. Better not mess this up. It's a really good run. As I start the fight with my lead, the world record C-dashes across the dark expanse, ignoring the bench all the way through. As I continue to hack and slash and pummel my Hollow Knight with descending darks, they finally undo their Hollow Knight's chains and start their own fight. Yet they still have an ace up their sleeve. The unassuming Fury of the Fallen charm, which was picked up all the way back in the beginning of their run, finally gets its time to shine like a true idol, boasting a whopping 75% damage increase to the bearer's nail while near death, a status this knight is currently thriving in. In addition to the nail upgrade they quietly received in their time in the City of Tears, it all but equalizes the playing field. While I have all skills and spells at my disposal, they boast an unparalleled mastery over their nail and every movement they make. Who will prevail? The tide finally turns at the exact time of 36 minutes and 49 seconds, where both Hollow Knights roar in agony, indicating its second phase. The Chaser has equalized the playing field. In a desperate attempt to keep my lead, I unleash a horde of Howling Wraiths to regain my lead, even for a desperate second longer. Yet it is only for a moment as the world record performs a flurry of pixel-perfect attacks, all the while gracefully weaving around all attacks as if unaware of the fragility of their own health. Yet, the gamble pays off as their Hollow Knight finally keels over and they bask in the sweet, sweet taste of victory. The chase has ended. The defender holds their crown for yet another day. All the while, I'm still attacking away, and eventually at 37 minutes and 52 seconds, I deal the final blow. With that, I take in the rest of the infection and end at a time of 38 minutes, 19 seconds, and 69 milliseconds. Unfortunately, even with all my advantages, I was unable to beat the world record. But even so, it was kind of fun to get to create my own speedrun route and execute it. Plus, technically, I did set my own record, max 20%, so there is that. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and if you're feeling up to it, try this challenge for yourself. Maybe you can do better than me. With all that said, catch you next time.